I'm FD from Roll with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
I'm rolling with FD.
And this is my co-host, Big Jon.
Hey YouTube, it's your boy Big Jon. Thank you for rolling with me and FD here on What's the Play.
We're here every week.
Big Jon, what's going on?
What's up? What's going on?
Talking sports, the hobby, pop culture, and much more.
Catch us every Tuesday night talking about sports, the sports car hobby, and current events. Go Bears.
Most of these teams just do not care about if they're winning ball games. They care enough about, are you interested in what they're doing?
Beckett probably going out of business or getting bought sooner.
I don't think Kawhi Leonard, if he comes back, he's going to end up going back out.
Dion, you don't got to like that he cocky, but he got a right to be.
Big Jon, if Jimmy Butler goes to the Bay, I'm on the ground and I'm not. And you all know we're going to bring on guests from the hobby and everywhere else that you want to hear from.
You have to be prepared for haters. You have to be prepared for people who don't like you.
I started opening up my first packs in 1976.
I don't want to interrupt you, but while you're talking, I just got some background entertainment for you, but keep going.
What are you playing? Michael Jordan.
We got Junior in the house, Paxton in the house.
A lot of players got to find a way to win based on their own strengths.
What would we say is John Morant's strength?
Attacking the rim.
You know, small guards attack the rim, don't play long. This is the What's the Play podcast. Big Jon!
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? We're going to go ahead and bring in Scott. Scott!
Hey, how are you guys?
How we doing?
Good to have you here.
Pretty good. Excited to be here tonight.
All right. Thank you, sir. We're excited to have you.
Let's get Scott a proper introduction. So if everybody don't know, Scott is the owner, proprietor, and showrunner of EC3Con here in Mohegan. My favorite show that you guys hear me talk about week in and week out. He's a great friend in the hobby, and he also has a nice boutique shop down here in Connecticut as well. Welcome, Scott.
Oh, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, we absolutely love owning and running the event, but more so just the amount of fans that we connect with like year round at this point.
Yes, it's the last one was what, November?
November, that's correct. Yep.
It was about that time this weekend. So Scott, introduce yourself to everybody here if they don't know you. If I haven't talked enough about you so far.
So I'm Scott. We run the event at Mohegan Sun here in Connecticut called the East Coast Collectibles Convention, EC3Con. I know a few people have asked how we came up with EC3 as the short for it, and it's as simple as the E for East, and then Coast Collectibles Convention is 3 C's. So it would have looked a little weird to be like C squared. So EC3Con it is. We started the event back in 2022 as kind of like a fun side part of the hobby, and it's just continued to develop and take off from there. So here we are, just a couple of days from the next big event.
So that show you've been going on for almost 2 years now, going on 3? No,
this
2
would
years
be
now.
a 4th calendar year. So we're 22 now. It'd be the start of the 4th calendar year.
Nice. So what made you want to start doing a show? Just out for humbug? Decided you could do it better than everybody else in Connecticut? What was the thought process behind doing this?
Honestly, we had tried a small one over at Foxwoods in the Tanger outlets, and people loved it on the front end of it. On the back end of it, it was an absolute disaster. I did not consider doing another one again from the frustrations behind the scenes, but I was approached with a contract for Kevin Nash to start off the Mohegan contract back in February of 22. And when I took that phone call, my answer was absolutely, I'll take the contract for Kevin Nash. And the question was, do you have a card show set up? And the answer was, nope, but I will.
But you will.
And that's how we started at Mohegan Sun.
Nice. So your background is like with athletes and people doing signage, right? You've done a lot of that in your past?
I've helped at other events, so I had some knowledge going into it, but I had no knowledge on the actual card show side. I had no knowledge on the dealer aspect, the customer aspect. I walked a lot of shows. I was a buyer at a lot of shows as we built repacks for some breakers in the hobby, and just kind of built relationships through all the shows I would attend as a buyer. And just kind of let everyone know, like, hey, we're trying to start our own show. And the positive that we have is that it's at the best casino in the country. It was the same weekend as a bridal expo. And by the time we started that first show, we only sold 60 out of 100 tables. And we ran with it as 60 tables.
Yeah, that show, I wasn't there at the first show. And we don't talk about the show after that.
Oh,
but
we can talk about it. I finally let the stress go.
You ready to go? So the first show I went to was back in June, and the feedback I got from the vendors was that February was amazing. That first show in New England was amazing, and the second show was not. And every vendor that said the second show was not, I haven't seen back, but the show has grown to what, 120 tables now? About
this weekend will be at that time it had gone from 60 to 130, and this weekend will be 235.
So a lot of people was very short-sighted in where the show could grow to, because it's been a good time for me walking it, with some dealers every time I've gone, and every time I go, I come back and I'm raving about it, you know. So if you're in Connecticut,
I'll halfway agree with the short-sighted. I just think that sometimes people don't give something a second chance, and that's okay, right? We've built an amazing vendor team regardless. We've had people who I'm pretty sure, you know, regret not coming back, but we have a lot of people who have stuck with us from day one through that one rough show. But also at that show, while it was low foot traffic, there was high money moving. And I have some dealers that was their first show ever with us, and they haven't missed a show since because money was moving. It just wasn't that busy commotion that people love in shows. And there were some dealers that, I mean, did not have a good weekend, right? So I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. We all know how much that one show had stressed me out, but we also showed a quick turnaround by tripling the foot traffic going into November from that June. So we had shown that we put in the legwork and the, you know, air quote fix to move forward bigger and better.
So Scott, one quick question. What are some things you do to increase foot traffic? Because I hear those who put on shows talk about this, but they don't talk about what they're doing to increase it.
So there's a couple different things that I like to do. Number one is when you have a good core group of vendors that treat the public well, right? The people always want to come back. That word of mouth spreads. More importantly, and this is both a selfish aspect as the promoter, but also as a vendor, I do believe if you have a great interaction with someone at a show this weekend, you should be telling them where you are for your next show. Hey, if you enjoyed working with me and the deal we just had, you can find me at Mohegan Sun this weekend. You can find me at, you know, Enfield's, you know, show in 2 weekends, right? Whatever it is, you should be building that rapport with everyone, and you should have flyers from each of the events. So I order 5,000 to 10,000 flyers per event, and I tell any vendors, if you want them, I will mail them to you. You don't have to print them yourself. You don't have to do anything. I will do the legwork for you as long as you're willing to hand them out to let people know that we're here.
That's it.
We do a lot of radio advertising.
Guys, one quick question, Big Jon. Like your local radio station, or what radio station?
Yep. So we do the typical like Instagram, Facebook ads, right? I would also say I in comparison to some other events that I've helped at, without trying to talk negative about any other promoter styles, I will say I'm very interactive with everyone. I answer all my DMs myself. I answer comments. I interact with the people that I follow, the vendors that I follow, the customers that I follow, right? I send like, fire emojis to some cool stories of theirs. Like, I'm very interactive that way as it is. I put a lot of time into the actual emotional communication and connection because I do care. I have fun with the hits. If you ever come into my shop, and you want to buy a box of cards, there's 2 questions. Question 1 is, which box do you want? And question 2 is, are you willing to let me know what hits you get so I can celebrate with you, right? Like that connection is very important. On the radio aspect, we had tried during that rough show in June, Big Jon, you'll understand this one for sure, but I tried iHeartRadio, and when I found out afterwards that they only had a 15-mile radius around the casinos as their marketing, I was like, so you marketed to trees? Like, there's nothing around the casino. So then we expanded out to a couple radio stations that are actually in the casino area, but have that farther reach, as well as we increased the radius that we requested iHeartRadio to use. And for that November show, when we had flipped, from only 700 people in June to over 2,100 people in November, we had also tried an electronic ad that iHeartRadio allows that was geared more towards like the anime side because of the voice actors that we had. But they also did some sports ads electronically as well. So we've tried a little bit of everything to increase the reach. But at this point, our local radio station has a lot of listeners, and the 5 or 6 different stations that they own, we've increased our budget to use all of them and expand out. So customers and vendors will say, Scott, I heard you ad on the radio. It was great. So like, instead of a 30-second ad, we purchased a minute ad, right? Like, I know attention span can be short nowadays with how everyone loves, 20-second reels on TikTok and Instagram, but we do have a full minute ad instead of just a 30-second ad to catch the attention of everybody that we're targeting.
So tell me, how great it is to have a partner in the Mohegan Sun when you're putting on this type of show. Because I know you work heavily with them and their event staff, right?
Yeah, so there's 3 things that the casino offers as a venue that I selfishly say most other venues don't offer. And the first 2 are health and security, right? So with a venue like the casino, you have health services right on site. One time we did have a young kid pass out after football practice from low sugar. Medical was in the room within a minute and a half, right? Like, and then security, while we pay for security to be there, if anything happens, we know that there's more security backup, there's tribal police, there's anything that we need in the area to make our show healthy and safe, which are the number 1 and number 2 priorities of any event. The third thing is unlimited marketing through their website, through their email blasts, right? Like, being on their good side, caring about their brand and image, bringing in our event and showing how much we care about our brand and image, but also theirs, has really tightened that partnership to allow us to grow the way we have.
Yeah, you hear it on the radio. I get emails from Mohegan all the time. And before the show, I never went into Mohegan besides to go to Krispy Kreme. So
great choice.
Big Jon.
Need my treats.
So when they come off that hot conveyor belt, how can you say no?
You can't. Hot and ready. I ain't got that much discipline when they see the hot and ready sign. So we still talking about the show, right? But I know you do this with your wife Nicole, right?
I do.
How's having her, help you make things easier for you? How's that dynamic work from just like you're working together all day long, basically, on stuff like this?
So everyone has heard me preach this. So this is no surprise that this will be my answer. But I would not be running this big an event as well as our shop without her support. She helps run the website. She helps run the vendor applications, the vendor approvals, the entire table chart, putting that entire puzzle together of who requested to be next to who wanted a wall space, what we can accommodate the best we can. She taught herself all of our graphics, marketing, ads. I'll help word a couple emails here and there, but for the most part, she's taken that head on at this point as well. So I almost say at this point, like, I'm more of like the out there, like, face. Everyone knows me. Everyone knows her as well, but she's like the silent partner that no one really realizes how much she does to make sure that this goes as smooth as possible. I'm not an attention to detail person. That's where her support comes in big time.
Okay, yeah, you really not attention to detail. You have
she's standing next to me.
You're having a show on Valentine's weekend, so talk about missing a big detail, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So and then like we definitely wouldn't be able to do both a shop and show without her support for all of that, because I just have to say, like, hey, I'm so busy. I need help here. Can you handle this phone call? Can you respond to that vendor? Whereas, like, I do try to be the one to answer all the emails, all the messages, but once in a while I'm like, hey, this is more of a question for you around the table chart. Like, can you pop on and answer this one quick?
Mm-hmm. Well, Nicole, we thank you for all the hard work you do behind the scenes. We make sure Scott gives you his flowers publicly, and I do as well. So the shows, do you consider it a regional show? Because I do, because when I go to, that's big around here. How do you view it in your head? Still something small, or?
I've never viewed it as a regional, because so every time anyone asks me, like, hey, are you heading out to the national? And I always say no. And they always say, well, why not? And I say, because by the time, if I went out there just to flip cards and make some money, like, okay, it's the biggest show, right? It's a money maker for a lot of people. But on the relationship side, I'm not going out there to make any connections that are going to impact us more than investing in our local collectors and our local communities instead. So if a trip out there is going to cost me $5,000 in flights, hotels, food, I'd rather put $5,000 into a local charity here, help with a basketball camp over the summer or something like that, than to put it into the national. And no disrespect to how well the nationals run and everything they do, but I think that our community here is more important to build and get our branding out there and work on our next steps, which is like a charity, and work on our next steps of giving back for how, like, grateful we are that all of this is as successful as it is to begin with, because this is just a fun hobby. If tomorrow we all needed more food on our plates and less fun with Pokemon cards and sports cards, we're going to cut out the sports cards and Pokemon cards for the food, right? Like, this is expendable, fun income to get away from reality, to meet new people, to have fun in life, have fun with what we enjoy collecting, that I would much rather invest in our local communities than go out to the national. So I've never considered myself a regional show. I appreciate that you do, but I've always tried to stay more of like the humble side of, like, we're just doing what we do so you guys enjoy the event.
I like that. Again, this is the biggest show that I've been to, because besides going to infield and the local shows, that's the biggest show that I've been to.
Right.
So that's why I consider that, because, like, I haven't seen anything bigger. I'm gonna get out there one day to some bigger shows and see what that's about. But you're like, it's expensive traveling. And
well, I also think that it's a balance, though. Like, with our wait list, we could be the biggest show in the entire East Coast tomorrow if we wanted to. But on the business side, it comes down to two things. Is there enough customer traffic for the dealers to be happy? If there is, the happier the dealers are, the happier you are as a customer interacting with them, right? Yeah. With our wait list, it's over, I think, 500 tables now. I've gotten 13 new table requests in the last 2 days for this weekend. It doesn't make sense. Like, right now, being at 235 tables is a positive feat for us starting at 60. because our goal was never to be a big show or the biggest show. Our goal was always to just put on the best show we can. And the slow growth has shown that we're staying to that commitment for both our dealers and our customers to have a good, enjoyable weekend.
So, do you got any questions?
Yeah, can you speak to your vendor selection process? Like, what do you go through to make sure that you have the best vendors on the floor that are interacting with customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So from day one, we were kind of more in a, like, begging is the wrong word, but like a trying to get people to trust us and trust the process, trust a brand new show, right? When we were brand new, it was a 6-foot table, it was $250 a table. And most local shows are, you know, $25 to $60 a table. That's a big jump for someone to trust, right?
Yeah.
From day one, I told all of the vendors that trusted us that they would always get the first invite to the next show. And that's kind of the process that we do, is the next show always has the current vendor team get the first invite. Now, I have probably 5 or 10 vendors that are missing this next show for personal reasons, vacations, away with family, unavailable, right? They don't get docked a show. They still get invited to the next show as well. What that's unfortunately caused, which caused me a lot of stress, when we bring on 10 new vendors to backfill the 10 vendors who aren't available, now that creates the next show having to kind of battle over tables or cut a table from someone so we can try to accommodate more people, right?
Yeah.
The other part of the vetting process, and anyone who has been on our wait list for a little while, if you listen to this and you kind of question why you haven't been added, then it's this next comment is not to offend anyone, but it's kind of important, right? I'd much rather take a couple referrals from our good vendors who are going to put their neck on the line for the person they refer than to take the next random name off the list. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to anyone on the list. That can be, they can also be a very good quality dealer, but it's no different than trying to get a job somewhere, right? They always ask for your referrals. It's no different than trying to become a dealer for PSA. PSA is going to ask you for referrals in the industry that they already trust. So there are times where, unfortunately, the wait list continues to grow because we've taken on other referrals rather than just going down a list. At the same time, we've also emailed the top of the list down, and sometimes people just don't respond. So there are, there is a process. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the negative side of that too, right? You get feedback that a dealer hasn't been nice to multiple people. You get feedback that a dealer is not really talking to people respectful around the dealers around them, or not really sharing the dealer space well. Then, like, maybe they don't get an invite to the next show. You at this point, without having it's all passion and pride for us. There's no ego, there's no arrogance, right? There's nothing else. But sometimes you do have to make those tough decisions to keep a good vendor team with you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Can you talk to everybody about how you first got interested in the hobby?
Oh, that's a fun one. So that goes way back. Sorry, Mom, when you listen to this one. Used to, have to do chores around the house, go to the store, buy basketball cards. I was always a basketball card kid. I was never football, never baseball, just always basketball. Used to buy like the $1 victory packs back in like 99 and 2000. Imagine if that was Brady instead back then, right? And then I was also a Pokemon kid as well. My mom ran a in-home daycare, so I'd have to keep all my cards away from the little kids until the daycare was closed. And then the whole weekend, it would just be like my entire living room is just cards everywhere. Like this weekend, I decided to sort by player. Next weekend, I decided to sort by like team, and just always got bored with the binder. So it was like, all right, time to resort it the weekend after. I'd had my cousin over. We would do that with both Pokemon and sports cards. like everyone, kind of fell out of it going into like the middle school, high school years. And then oddly enough, I was on the way to Mohegan Sun for a dinner back in 2016, and I stopped at the Walmart on the way, and I saw a pack of Pokemon cards that looked like the original ones. What the heck are these things? So that looks like an original reprint. That's cool. Bought a pack, pulled a Charizard. Then I started looking at the sport card section, started buying some 2017 Optic for Tatum's rookie year, and just kind of hopped like full force back in like the 2016, 2017 timeframe.
Nice. They just reeled you back in slowly and surely.
Yep. Actually, I met Tatum by accident because I went to a Celtics rookie signing at the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I don't follow college at all. Mm-hmm. So I met this Tatum kid, which was kind of cool. He was a Celtic draft pick, and then you find out a couple years later, you're like, dang, that was actually a good guy to meet.
Mm-hmm. So Celtics are your team? Who you root for?
I was always, as a kid, I was always like a jersey collector of my favorite players. So I probably had like 40 jerseys in the closet with like the typical, Wizards Jordan, the Pippen Bulls, Jordan Bulls, Iverson. Had to go with the blue alternate for the Sixers, right? Tracy McGrady, the Vince Carter double color Raptors. Like I was a player fan more than like a team fan.
All right. I think we got some questions in chat. You want to go through them?
Yeah. We got, what in your opinion, which one has the best slab? SGC, Beckett, PSA. Which one do you guys prefer?
That's a loaded question. What do you guys think?
Well, I remember when Beckett was very, very popular, early 2000s. And so I really like the Beckett slab. I still really like the Beckett slab. I would say PSA is probably up there because of values and what's happening in the market. I've never graded with SGC. Nothing against them, just haven't done it.
So my favorite slab to have anything of color in, that's my personal question, is SGC. I like the way gold, the reds, and blues look with the black background. Not a fan of Beckett. It's too big and bulky for me. I do have a couple of Beckett slabs, but it's just too thick for me. I don't like that. And then PSA and CGC, I like those slabs. So, and I'm actually bringing a Montez Ford to grade with Beckett on Saturday. So,
if I had to go full collector hat and not value hat, I would say the thickness of the Beckett slabs actually feel like they protect the cards better. I agree that like from a collection perspective, it's too bulky, but I feel like it just protects them better. Black labels obviously look awesome. I do think from a collection aspect that SGC does make a lot of cards pop. And while the hobby has leaned towards PSA on the value side, I just don't think that their slabs really make anything pop from a collection perspective. So I would almost toss in some of the local companies that do, like AI labels and different things like that from a collector's perspective over PSA still. But obviously if you're going for value, then definitely like PSA is king in the hobby. So you gotta go with PSA if you're going for value. But if you're looking to put on the collector hat, go with the slab that you like best.
Scott, just a question from me. What are some of the changes you've seen in the hobby running shows in the last 3 years? Some things that you've noticed. And then on the other side of that, what do you kind of see coming in the next 12 months?
Oddly enough, I've actually seen a lot of, and of course, more on the vendor side of who we communicate with, but I've seen a lot more kind of natural turnover of people that their regular businesses got too busy again to kind of keep up with the card side. Mm-hmm. So, when you're looking at it on the investment side as a dealer, you have to keep inventory moving. Right? You can't let inventory sit for 6 months. Players change, stats change, right? Now, unless you accidentally put away like Mahomes and Shohei and, those types of names.
Yeah.
8 months ago, you'd still be happy today, right? But you can't always put away everything for that couple months while you have to focus on your daily life. So that's a little bit of a change that I've seen. I've noticed specifically with our events that we've attracted collectors and families a lot more. And I do think that our 12 and under being free for kids absolutely is a helpful aspect of that. But I've noticed that a lot more families attend our events than when you go to other events. And I don't know if it's just the safety of the location. I don't know if it's just our marketing, if we appeal to collectors more, but I've noticed over the last 2 years that you're watching more families come through than 2 years ago.
We got a question here from Machado. Machado says, question for Scott. Any advice for someone trying to run a car show in a city where there are no shows and only a few car shops, but filled with many collectors? Can it happen? Is it possible to build a show?
It's absolutely possible to build a show. You just have to start from the ground up of connecting with people, finding a location that makes sense. It has to have good parking. We've noticed a few events that have tapered off and disappeared because parking and location were an issue. So just like in any business or business, college classes or anything like that, they always say location, location, location. But you kind of laugh at that, but it is true, right? The location matters for the parking as much as it matters for the kind of cleanliness of the building, right? There's some great VFWs, there's some great American Legions, there's some great hotel lobbies or ballrooms or meeting rooms that you can start small in. But I think on the show side, you have to be willing to put in the legwork, put in the investment, put in the time, and then give it about 12 to 18 months before it kind of gives back on the finance side, because there is a lot of overhead to running a show, a lot of coordination, but a lot of areas do have the collectors and just not shows within a drivable distance that makes sense.
Scott, just for the people, I know you have a car shop and you're running a show. What did you do before that? Because there are going to be some people out there that's going to say, well, I can't do that because I don't know this and I don't know that. Walk people through, what were you doing before you did this?
So I was working full-time at a bank as a branch manager. And then about 3 weeks before our very first show, I had actually transitioned to a back office job where it kind of took the managerial duties off my plate. But we had planned the entire first show at Foxwoods, ran that one, and then planned the entire first show at Mohegan while I was still working 6 days a week as a manager of a bank branch.
I got a vibe of that, so that's why I asked that question. Someone told me that.
I mean, what really helped to really grow this the right way was having the full-time job. When I told people I was doing this for the hobby because I care and I enjoy how happy everyone is at our events, and I wasn't doing it for the money, I meant it, right? And while our life has changed because I did get laid off, and then we opened our shop because the opportunity made sense to try, and I'm amazingly grateful at how more successful the shop has been than I had ever hoped. We still have that same attitude going into every show, that it's not about the money. It is about the people. It is about making sure that you guys have the experience for the weekend that makes you go, I can't wait for the next one. And that passion and drive, you can't teach everyone, but you can show people the way. But you have to want to have that passion and drive to ignore how much it's going to cost in both finances and time to grow.
And I always think too that when people do things not for the dollars, it attracts people to you because they get a sense of you're intrinsically doing something, right?
Sure.
And I used to work in sales. I would come in, I'm not trying to be a used car guy. If I
Correct.
sell you or not, I want to keep you satisfied.
Yep.
When people get a sense of that, then they're ready to roll with it. They're ready to go.
And that's how I handled my life as a manager in bank sales as well. Is like I could care less what corporate's telling us as sales goals. What is right for the customer in front of us? We used to hit the goals all the time, doing what's right for people. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone actually asked me at the shop as well, like, hey, what's your trade-in percentage? I don't have one. First of all, you're a person that's bringing in cards, all right? We're not behind our cards. We're not behind a percentage. You're a person bringing in cards. What's your goal with those cards? Are you looking to upgrade something in your collection? Are you looking to just dump them off? Like, what do you want? And then at the same time, what's the liquidity of those cards? If I just told you that my percentage was 60% and you're bringing in $1,000 card, that's robbery, right? I understand that there's cost of doing business and all that, but if it's a quick flip card, you can still pay someone $850 for $1,000 card and still make, $75 to $100 to flip it to someone else under market and still make everyone happy, right? Like you don't have to jab every dollar out of every deal. And I think that we've made as many deals and connections as we have just by connecting with people as people first.
You saw that at the trade night. We made a deal, and people behind me were making deals left and right. It was a good time.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna pause on the show because we do talk about sports, and I know you're a basketball guy. What do you think about the trade deadline?
Oh, nothing about that made sense at all. I know we're talking about the one deal that everyone's talking about.
I'm talking about every deal. Like that was a wild trade deadline to me. A lot of moves got made last minute, the last 24 hours.
I think the funniest video that came out of it was Jimmy Butler, though, gassing up his car. How expensive is California? That was probably the funniest video. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I think the NBA needed to shake up for the viewership, for the fans. I think that there's been a lot of negative around it lately from the sitting and, just different annoying things. Like, let's just get back to playing. And also fans need to stop pushing the negative narrative as well, right? Like these guys are going out and playing good, tough games for the ones that are trying to be there for the fans and play. But I still.
So let me ask you this: do you think it was a good trade to move Luka for Anthony Davis?
Oh, not at all. I think that. So on the WNBA side, with the Dallas Wings having the number one pick, right? Mm-hmm. I've always said that is the worst market for Paige to land, and if her and her agent can find a way to either drop her in the draft or trade. Get that first pick traded to a bigger market. Her market is just like, Jordan, LeBron, Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, right? She's a player that needs a bigger money market. And the one example I always used was Luka. Luka's in Dallas, and there isn't much for him outside of basketball being in Dallas, right? So a player like him goes to a big city like LA, or if he went to Boston or maybe Miami, right? Like a bigger dollar market, kind of like, Shaq bounced around to big money markets as well, right? I think that it's a great move for him on the market side and the money side, but the trade did not make sense at all, in my opinion.
Speaking of WNBA, who are we rooting for this year? Because, I don't know anybody looking for the Sun this year. Everybody's gone.
I'm rooting to hopefully someone buys a couple of my tickets that I can't go to after that dissolving of the Sun. You know how they always say in life, trust the process?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that there's a bigger picture that just hasn't been painted yet for the Sun. And I thought that they were trying to figure out a way to get that number one pick from Dallas and bring Paige here. That's what I thought was going on, big picture. It could still be happening. What do they have to give up for the number one pick? I have no idea. But up until the season starts, I'm going to use that term of trust the process. And then enjoy the couple games I can get to and watch them move to Boston in the next couple of years.
See what happens. All right. I don't know. Whole starting five's gone. Indiana looks really good with the pieces they picked up and the coach from the Sun they picked up. And I know they're going to play some really good defense next year.
Oh, if I was a sports bettor, I'd have my money on Indiana winning it all for sure this year. There's a couple things without sounding like, business conspiracy theorists of sports, but they did say the last team that had back-to-back number one picks won the championship within 3 years, which was Seattle, and they did. Mm-hmm. And then just the amount of money that would flow into the WNBA to have a Fever Finals, my guess is going to be, for how stacked they made Phoenix right now, my guess would be Fever Phoenix in the finals.
Okay. We'll see. It's going to be a good season. I've been watching them rival, seeing the one-on-ones going on right now. Some nice ball being played, so I'm excited for the WNBA season.
I think Unrivaled was a huge thing for the. I mean, so here's the thing for those of us that have gone to games for quite a few years, right? The league has always had amazing talent. It is too bad that it took Clark and her college career to kind of enhance the league, right? Because there's been a lot of amazing talent there. I mean, Alyssa Thomas is a triple-double machine that no one even talks about enough. Dewana Bonner, being as high up on all the record boards as she is, played behind Taurasi most of the time for her career before she came to Connecticut, right? So the fact that Taurasi is number one in points and Dewana's like right behind her shows that duo was undervalued for the time that they played together on the market of people that watch sports, right? There's been a lot more talent than people realize before the current hype and marketing behind the W, but no time is better than ever to get the hype behind the talent. And I think Unrivaled really showed that you could put some money into the talent and showcase just how good these girls are. I think Angel Reese is going to be a power forward that the entire league is going to hate for years. And I don't mean hate as in like the banter that's been going on. I mean, she's going to be a positive force for Chicago if she can hone in her talent a little bit and worry a little less about the comments and the drama out there. But yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about just how well this league is going to play out for the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Really exciting. You're seeing more and more WNBA cards at the shows lately. I know Sports Card Lessons, Ken, is a big one. Everybody around here knows that's where you go to cards. But the last couple shows I've been to, I've seen a lot more, and not just Paige and Angel Reese, but a lot of different players as well.
Correct. So. And honestly, because we're at Mohegan where the team plays, a lot of people have seen a lot of our content of going to the games, where my seat location is, sometimes sitting courtside, to where people actually gear up WNBA cards for our show on purpose for fans that are coming through. Which here's a fun fact for the June show, Father's Day weekend for our next show. Chicago is playing at Mohegan against the Sun, obviously, right? And I was like, how much would Angel Reese cost to get in there for a signing? But yeah, that's not happening. That'd be the greatest exposure we ever had. Imagine all the Chicago fans coming right over to the event before or after the game.
Well, if you get Cardozo to sign, maybe she'll be a little bit cheaper.
That's true. That's true.
I can definitely see Big Jon there to see Angel Reese.
Yeah, Angel Reese and Cardozo. I think Scott got me the Olivia Nelson autograph a couple shows back. So
almost forgot to give it to you too.
I wasn't worried about it. I knew I'd get it. I know where you at.
Jordan asked a question here about profitability, and when it comes to businesses, people have these questions. Were you profitable from day one, or did it take a few shows?
So I'm very transparent. The first show, we couldn't afford it, but it happened. We lost 25 grand to run it.
And I've heard this with a lot of shows.
And Mohegan, while they are an amazing partner, is not the cheapest venue to run at. So when you walk into our ballroom, first we're paying for their staff to run the cash registers, right? We're paying for all the security, the bag checks. We're paying for the ballroom. And then from the table company, we're paying for the tables. Whereas someone had asked a question earlier about trying to start a show, you might want to look at a little more of a cost-effective venue that supplies the tables as well. But for this upcoming show, our table rentals are going to be about 15 grand just for the tables.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't like being a $325 table for the vendors. I think the cheaper we can be based on costs of the venue, costs of everything involved, the cheaper you go into the weekend as a vendor, having a better margin on the weekend, right? I don't want to be an expensive table. We just the venue is too good to not be there. So our costs are associated into the table price.
And this you're at the second show in the big ballroom, right?
That's correct. We ran the September one when you and I sat down for a little bit in order to test run that side, figure out the parking situation, figure out, the mapping of getting to that ballroom for customers, figure out all the kinks of just a quick one-day show. And then we are there permanently now.
So one unique thing about your show is you have a lot of signees and a lot of voice actors. Why is that? Like, what can you tell us why is that important to have that part of how instead of just sports cards all over the place?
It's honestly, it gives a little aspect for everybody, and I think that is what draws in more families. I think having the sports cards available, the trading cards available, the sports celebrities, the wrestlers, the anime guests, I think it all makes a perfect circle of success to have fun for everybody. Give everyone a little bit of something of what they're interested in instead of just a sports card show or just a Pokemon trading card show or just an autograph Comic-Con, right? It kind of loops it all together. So you're getting a little bit of all of your interest at once, or maybe you just don't like some of the other stuff and you like one thing, but you're there for that one thing and there's enough of it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely enough of everything. What's the biggest card you've seen transact in the store in the at the show that you know about? Because I've seen some nice Kobe's.
Is probably the 51 mantle that walked in and a dealer took out 26,000 cash and bought it on the spot. I think that's the biggest one that I'm aware of.
People just walking in with 51 mantles.
Oh yeah,
that'd be nice to see.
If you do some quick math for how many people have come through the doors, we have about 15 to 20 million of buying power walk through that room. Just think about the average budget that someone is bringing in with them.
Mm-hmm. What's your average head count?
It's tough because we don't have the casino kind of like double check how many families come in with kids since we don't charge for kids. We believe that November was right around like 3,800 for the weekend, which was a record weekend.
That's very nice.
Paid attendees was probably right around like 2,800. So we figured about 1,000 kids with families came through.
Very cool.
And just with the exposure of our shop, which I never expected to, like I said earlier, be as successful as it has been. And I'm so grateful for that. But we have marketing inside of the market that we're in literally right now, 24/7. So anyone walking by it is seeing everything about our upcoming events on this big poster we have out there. hand out a flyer to every single person, remind them we're going to be closed this coming weekend. I would anticipate we're going to get about an extra 500 to 1,000 people just because of the shop.
Very cool. Very nice. Jordan asked a question here. Are you using tech with your shows, for example, Mascot?
We are not. I've heard about Mascot. I've heard about the positive that Mascot can have. My concern's not the right word. My reason for not really going with Mascot is I don't necessarily want people shopping from a phone to find dealers that have cards. I understand that there is a positive to it, right? If you're looking for that one card and a dealer does have it, it's going to make that experience better. But I think that's far and few between compared to people that just enjoy going table to table, looking, searching, having fun for the day, rather than just honing in on an app while you walk around the room. No disrespect to what they're doing at all. I think it's a great platform. I think it's great for the events that want to incorporate it, but I don't think that we are that event.
So one thing about the events, like, there's not a lot of footage taken from people that's coming in. Like, is that something you noticed, that like people who are collecting and buying cards are not, taking video for YouTube and Instagram as much? Well, me, I show a little bit, but for the most part, everybody's kind of focused on actually what the interface is. Is that something you want to see more of, just the face-to-face, or would you like?
I mean, from a marketing exposure, I would always love to see more videos posted, right? Like that would be awesome. And just to have more content from all different angles, to have all different personalities creating the content, right? We of course we would love that. That's respectfully a no-brainer for growth, to have more content out there. I actually enjoy the fact that so many people are enjoying it for the connections with people and for the connections of their collections and for meeting up with friends and for meeting new people at the event, that there is less content overall on our events. And I'm okay with that.
Who are the content curators? I don't know. Who are the content creators in the Connecticut area? Who regularly posts videos?
There's a couple of Pokemon ones, but on the sports side, there isn't really like a strong presence. Like on the podcast side, there is Ken. There's a couple. I know Zips Cards is starting a podcast with Ken, right? So like there's a couple different people. I know John. You obviously support us and mention us as well, but overall, there isn't really anybody out here that I'm aware of.
I think there's one. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there's like one other person that does content out there every show as well. It's always good because most have a good time there. What other question? I'm gonna run out of questions about the show because I'm there. What's something else different you guys have at the show is you have a couple artists there. So how did that come about? Like, you have Super Studios there with his prints and a couple, somebody launching a comic book there at the show. How do you get some of the different aspects of collectors there as well?
Well, I think that just kind of goes hand in hand with the overall vision of having a little bit of everything for everybody. And when
I think we're all lagging.
Yeah, a little bit. I think so. I think that just goes full circle with having a little bit for everybody, right? When some of the awesome artists come in and they've heard about the positive feedback from other vendors or other attendees or something, they want to be part of it as well, which allows their artwork to get out there. It allows them to connect with new fans. So I think that I think it's just part of that full circle of having a little bit for everybody.
There's a question here from Jordan. I think you kind of already answered this. How are you able to profit? Is it more from tables or tickets, since cost of show setup is so expensive for you?
So that question I can answer both on behalf of our event as well as my knowledge of other events as well. So most of the time when you price out your tables, you are trying to price out your tables to cover the expenses as well as, marketing, potentially some celebrity guests, and potentially, any other surprises that might pop up cost wise. And then your focus is getting as many attendees through the doors to then make the weekend kind of worth all the time, right? That's my business answer. Obviously, I always fall back on we care about people regardless of the profits or how successful the show is, and that's why we've gotten to where we are. But I'm very aware of how other events run as well, and that's kind of the same tactic out there, is that you price it well enough for your dealers to want to continue to attend, but also in order to cover as many of the costs as you can without going too deep into your own pockets as necessary. Sometimes you have to make the right moves though, right? Like we brought out Richard Hamilton, we brought out Coach Calhoun. We took too big of a loss on those, but for the fans that were to meet them, it was a great opportunity. Richard Hamilton was probably my biggest solo contract of my life. And obviously for NDA purposes, I can't really, say what it was, but it was the biggest contract I've ever paid out. And unfortunately, just not enough people wanted to meet him in order to cover it. But the amount of people that did meet him and had a great experience with him is why we continue to push the autograph side the way we do.
What's an athlete that you would really like to have one day if you could snap your fingers, wave a magic wand? You're like, I really would like to have this person at my event.
I'm so happy you asked that. The answer is Shaq. I've always, Nicole laughs next to me, but so there back in 2012, Nicole had found that Mohegan was actually hosting Shaq for a first 200 people in line to meet him. And I actually got Shaq to sign 3 jerseys for me. Nicole held one, I held one. And then I had a couple others with me, and a family in front of us didn't know that they could bring anything because the website said not to. And I had an extra licensed 8x10. I was like, oh, well, here, why don't you guys take this if you guys don't want just a basic photo that he's signing up there to take this 8x10. They're like, really? Like, what can we do for you? Like, nothing, just take the 8x10. Like, I got my jerseys, I'm happy. So they got my 3rd jersey signed for me. So at that signing and meet and greet, I got the Lakers, of course, right? The Heat and the Celtics all signed by Shaq. If I could have anything go full circle selfishly, it would be Shaq for that reason, to say, I met you here. It was an awesome experience, and I want you to come back to my event now at the same building to give my fans that same experience.
Wonderful. One thing I'll say, just like you did from collecting autographs, if something says they're not signing, still take something.
Yep.
Because that athlete gets in there and he or she starts feeling the crowd and people coming up and they just start signing.
Yep.
That's how that happens. That's a cool story, man.
I used to go to card shows from probably 2010 on, but it was never for the cards. It was always for the autographs. There was a couple shows up in Mass that was the only place I could get Patriot autographs because I didn't know how to find them any other way, right? So I used to go to these events all the time, and I just remember, waiting in line, either the good experience of the wait, having someone let you know that, they're taking their time with fans, it's gonna be a little while longer, or the negative experience of someone that just wasn't that nice, right? So while the autograph side definitely costs us sometimes too much money, I do it because I used to stand in those lines too. And I know what it's like to go to an event where it felt like an assembly line. You have 12 seconds to even just say I loved you in this game, and the agent's already pushing you aside. And I would rather lose money like I did on Richard Hamilton or like I did on Kurt Angle or anyone else to give the fans the best experience possible. And that's why we just keep pushing it, because I was in those lines. I was that, I'll say young kid, but I was 20. That was just this is the coolest thing ever to meet someone that I've enjoyed watching and just add to a signature collection. So that's why we'll continue to push it for the fans.
But Shadow has a question here. Question for Scott. How do you get an athlete to do a signing at a show from your perspective? Do's and don'ts.
You have to have the right agent in your court. You can overpay for someone. You can, get the wrong person as a personality. You got to have the right agent on your side of things. Also know that the reason why we have the anime voice actors for both days is because that's what they're used to for contracts, whereas many of the sports athletes are like 60 minutes in and out, 90-minute max. You're paying more for 90 minutes than you are 60 minutes, and it does make it a little tough, especially for someone like me that's, hey, I want 2 hours. I don't want to pay for it, but I want 2 hours. I want you to enjoy the time with the fans, right? I want fans to remember this. But yeah, just make sure that you have the right person for your area, and just know that there's a high risk of not covering the contract and not covering all the costs, but do it for the right reasons.
Got another question from Machado. What do you want to see every show do more of or less from vendors to attendees?
I don't think I really have an answer to that one. I think that we have a great vendor crew that treats our attendees well. We've never gotten any drastic feedback to say we shouldn't bring someone back for how they treated anybody. And honestly, I think that I'm really enjoying the style of show that we've created and the fan base that we've allowed to enjoy our events, and the fan base we have show up each and every event. I don't think I really have an answer to that one, truthfully.
Go ahead, Big Jon. Go ahead.
So we'll ask this because I'm always kind of curious. When I go, I see as a running show, you allow the vendors to choose how they price every item or the boxes. How you have any thoughts or rules on that? Like some vendors, everything is with a price. The others, half is price. Just everybody can do what they feel best in their business.
Yep. At the end of the day, your vendor table is your business. Respectfully, for the amount of people that we're bringing out, if it's not a good weekend for you, either it was your items, it was were you standing up and friendly to people, or you just kind of slouching and mad the whole time? At the end of the day, as a vendor, because I also vend at shows until I opened the shop, right? At the end of the day, I always said, I talked to a lot of people as a vendor, but I was never a strong vendor for sales, which is why I was kind of like, Scott, why are you even opening a shop, right? If you weren't a good vendor, because I enjoy that interaction with people about their collections. I enjoy listening to people about their collections. The way our event is set up, I'd much rather you be a great person than to worry about the type of inventory you have or the pricing you have on the inventory. Because someone is going to be just as successful with value boxes as someone else that's only does high end, right? I would much rather have 100 tables of value boxes as long as the people are good, rather than just worrying about what the inventory is.
Yeah, no, I agree. The more interaction I have just about, hey, what do I collect when I'm talking to people at the tables, gets me looking at what they have to actually offer, see what I can find. So,
hey, Machado asks, have you been to Fanatics Fest? What do you think of it?
I actually did not go to Fanatics Fest last year, and this year I'm just grateful that they are the weekend after us in June and not the same weekend, because I do know that it would be, with us being so close to New York City, I do know that it would be kind of tough to overlap that. I didn't agree with and I know how big the Javits Center is. I know a lot about the Javits Center. New York City Comic-Con uses the entire 3 million square feet that building is, or whatever it is for square feet. It's not a small building, right? Fanatics Fest to me was very smart to copy the Comic-Con concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think they put a big emphasis on the card show side. And I feel like 3,500 for booths was very overpriced. The rules that I was, and if I'm wrong, I don't want fanatics to like, hate me for saying anything wrong here. I'm just going based off of what was said out there. There were rules around what wax you could and couldn't sell just because of their licensing and the wax that they wanted to move that weekend, right? And I do think that it was actually not allowed to have value boxes either. So I do think that there are potentially some changes to make the card show experience side better. But I think from what we've talked about with the autograph side and the experience side, I mean, they knocked it out of the park for the experience for the fans from what I saw and heard, right? Yeah. If I had ever gone to Dana White and said, hey, I want a UFC ring set up inside a Mohegan Sun's ballroom, he'd be like, you're crazy. But Fanatics approaches him with the size of that building, and they're like, oh, that could work, right? Like, it's a totally different ball game, and going after the Comic-Con style was a smart play. I would have liked to see more marketing towards the card show vendors for the cost that they were paying to be there.
Understood.
I missed out on going. If I don't know, it would have been that WWE heavy, I would have tried to go.
Well, that's the next one. The next was in June, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like WWE, they understand the entertainment side already, right? So like you get a bunch of them together, and it's it's going to be good no matter what. And that's that I don't follow the WWE. I never have, but as you know, I do my best to support our WWE fans.
Mm-hmm. I think this was not as fast. I will be on a cruise, so I'll probably miss that one too. So
I mean, you could take me on your cruise. I'll go.
You've already been, and you got to tell me where the secrets are.
Yeah.
Me and Scott both share the love of cruising, and I'm trying to convince FG. I'm failing at it, but I'm working on it.
I don't do cruises. No cruising me.
I don't blame you. On the marketing side of cruises, it is kind of funny how the cruise lines have to balance multiple different angles. They have to balance the current customer, the new customer from other cruise lines, as well as appealing to brand new customers. So I don't think I'd ever want to be in that marketing position to have that many different angles to have to take for marketing. But I've enjoyed them. I've done, John, I think, what did we count last time we talked? I think I've done 17 so far. That was because I literally used to work to cruise. It was like, okay, 6 months of work. All right, I saved enough for the next cruise. Like that's what it was.
That is what I am doing now. Working. All right, time to go. See y'all in a week and a half.
And more importantly, our June event should be the week before your cruise, so we'll get to see you in June again anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, do you think the NFL is scripted? Do you think there's any truth to that?
Oh, you don't want me answering that one. All right, so I was always because of collecting NBA cards and being an NBA fan, I was always the one that I grew up a Patriots fan because the family was. I always just went to the Super Bowl parties, and that was it. If you think about it from just the business side, and I'm not saying it's scripted, but I'm just saying that movies and entertainment and everything require fans to keep the income coming. Super Bowl 48 was the Super Bowl that was one of the first ones where I really paid attention. And that was the Seahawks defensive destruction of the Broncos and Peyton, right? That doesn't create views for commercials for next year. So what happened that following year? Deflategate. What happened? The Patriots end up in the Super Bowl against the same Seahawks. What happened? Some crazy ending to win the game, right? Like, is it scripted to a certain aspect? I would say yes for the money. It's still a business that's entertainment, right? Like, do I hope as a fan that it's not? Of course.
I'm in the same boat. I think you just don't take a bunch of money and throw it to the wind. You got to have some kind of process there, some kind of strategy. This year was a season where we saw the Chiefs probably shouldn't even been in the Super Bowl.
And that's raising a lot of questions from people like who could have been there instead that would have had the better record or would have had the better team to be there to give us a better game, right?
But doesn't it, for a lot of people, it feels good that a team that shouldn't have been there and the refs helped them get there, and they get there and get trashed. That makes a lot of people feel good. So,
but was that then scripted to make sure that the script doesn't feel like a script and then it's off
right.
script?
There you go. Exactly.
It's the red herring. You gotta, get them looking one way and hit them from the other side.
Well, if you go back to my example of Super Bowl 48, right? You had 48 where it was a defensive nightmare for the league in a positive way for fans that understand it, but a negative way for your fair weather fan or who I used to be, Super Bowl party only, right? Mm-hmm. They get bored and don't watch the rest of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Then 49, you had the controversy. 50, it's its own thing. That's a milestone. 51, you're back to a Patriots controversy. 52, you're back to a Patriots controversy. 53, you're back to a Patriots controversy, right? Then 54, it moved on to the next thing. What year did Brady win the Bucs after that? 55, right? Something like that. Or 56. So each one, if you look back, had its own thing. This year it was like the destruction of the three-peat. Like there was always something to get you to watch it, even if people were like talking about boycotting this one. Everyone talking about boycotting it still watched it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why Super Bowl ads are $8 million this year, and they were only like $3 million 10 years ago.
Yes, absolutely. Machado says respectfully, can we get a woman's perspective on the hobby? What does your wife want to see more of in the hobby? For me, we need more women in the hobby and more women influencers.
Do you have anything to comment on that one?
I mean, seeing more women in the hobby would be nice, but I personally know nothing about it.
So
I'm
to
not
help,
a collector.
so to help with her answer there without talking for her, I think we've done a good job at our event of supporting the women that want to be vendors. We've supported the wives and the girlfriends that are helping their boyfriends and husbands as vendors, right, to feel as comfortable as possible in our show and our event. Mm-hmm. And I think just having the welcoming atmosphere will naturally help to push more women this way. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that you see at our event is like the families coming through, right? The moms, the dads, and when the moms are coming through, they're trying to help the kids learn about things. You kind of see that love relationship building over these collectibles that some of them may not understand with their kids, right? Or they might, maybe they collect as well, and they're there with their kids to teach them that aspect as well. I would say in our shop, we actually see a very high level of women coming in as collectors, more so on the Pokemon side than the sports side, but we do see a lot of women coming in. And just earlier on Sunday, I actually had a mom come in looking for a specific card for her son. I happened to have one of the 4 that she had shown me the pictures of. And while she was texting him, he literally said, Mom, don't get me anything. I'm fine. And she was like, no, I'm supporting his hobby. I want to help him figure this out. And luckily I had one of the cards that he needed. She was all excited. And, she couldn't wait to tell him about our event at the casino this weekend. Right. So I think that when you have the holistic viewpoint that we have, where it's a little bit for everybody, no matter what you enjoy, that's what helps it to bring in more moms, more women, more, every aspect of the hobby.
So I'll kind of piggyback on that. I brought a friend and his girlfriend to their first show back in June, into the June show, and they're big on Pokemon. And everybody there they talked to in the Pokemon section was so nice to her. They didn't try to over-explain anything. They was able to just have conversations, and so she had a wonderful time. It's texted me the other day, hey, are you coming this Saturday? Because we're going to be there around 12. We want to make sure, we walk. And I just walked and sat back and every time the show comes around for me, because it's like quarterly now. It's right when I get the hobby burnout. And so for that show, just sitting back and watching somebody else experience the show for the first time and get that love for the actual hobby, not just going to Buying Club, it brought me I got to go get back into it and get back into the hobby and get my collection together and do what I do. So from that standpoint, the show is very inviting for females to come in or anybody, no matter the knowledge level, to come in and just learn and talk and go through.
Well, and think about it this way: our show started by piggybacking the same weekend as a bridal expo, right?
Yeah.
And I had kind of piggybacked on that of hey guys, we don't know who's going to walk by, but if you trust me, this event's going to be good, right? And you could say I was talking on my ass at that point. I didn't know how good the event was going to be. It was our first event there, and it ended up being very good. But there were the typical comments of it's just a bridal expo. What do you mean it's just a bridal expo? They might collect. They have a father-in-law, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, their fiance, whoever it is that they're marrying. It doesn't matter if it's, two women, a guy and a girl. It doesn't matter what the relationship status is. Mm-hmm. There are fans of everyone, of every sport, of everything. You don't know who's walking by. And we actually always saw couples come in after the bridal expo. There were even some guys who were in the shop the other day. They're like, dude, my wife and I already got married, but we actually went to your first event because we were at the bridal expo, right? Mm-hmm. There's such a diverse aspect to the Mohegan layout, the other events that are going to be there, that we actually started with the bridal expo. And unfortunately, with us switching to the bigger ballroom, we are no longer overlapping the bridal expo weekend in order to kind of keep that same impact. But they still come back after the other years of finding us and learning about us. This year, we're overlapping a home and garden expo, which is even bigger for the casino than the bridal expo. Rick from Pawn Stars will actually be over on the other side. There's a way to get a free ticket if you want to go meet him. But, the thing is the event has to be welcoming to everybody, no matter how you look at it.
And that's what I was sitting there thinking while you're talking. I think anytime you have an event and people don't know anything about it, if people are welcoming and it looks like something that there is some enthusiasm there, and they meet people who are cordial and want to talk to them, anybody wants to come into that. Yep. I mean, I've been to events. I've been to car shows and went over and went to another convention for something else many times because the people were inviting. And when I went over and asked questions, it was a good rapport. So I think as shows, I would think any environment where that's happening, yeah, people gonna love that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So in the Quiet Car podcast, Jerry's always says, the more mom friendly you are, the better the event's going to be. From an vending standpoint.
Hey, I know my parents weren't gonna let me go somewhere where it was a little suspect. So, or they had been there themselves and people were rude. Then I'm probably not going there. I think that same attribute is in parents today.
Oh, and parents are way more understanding and welcoming of coming to the event when you explain to them, hey, kids 12 and under are free. It's a family friendly atmosphere. Don't let the word casino, Mohegan Sun, or the casino aspect of it scare you. Mohegan is using events like ours and other events to really showcase that it's more than just a casino. It is, in fact, a resort where you're going to get other entertainment. They host basketball tournaments there where they have anywhere from 10 to 15 basketball courts set up at the same time. They host volleyball tournaments for high schools and middle schools. Like, it's more than just a casino at this point. And I always try to give the peace of mind to the parents. Actually, today I had a call with a parent because he had sent us this lengthy email of like, hey, what do you think about A, B, and C? And I was like, listen, give me a call. It's going to be a way better answer than trying to type that one out, because it's either not going to come off right for the tone, or it's just going to be way too much to type with my thumbs right now. He gave me a call at about 4:00 today. Of course, I was outside at my truck and I missed it. I called him right back about 20 minutes later when I noticed the call. And he was so grateful that I called him back, because the first event that him and his son went to 2 years ago, his son was only 8. He's 10 now. It was too overwhelming for him at 8. So he's like, hey, what can we expect now that it's bigger and now he's 10? Like, what can we expect? Like, can you help us with some peace of mind there? And I was on the phone with him for a good 15, 20 minutes, just letting him know, like, enjoy it, go in with a plan, know the values of your cards. And, at 10, your son is going to hear a lot of no's from vendors. I'm sorry, I don't want to trade for that, right? And be willing and ready to hear that, which he had kind of brought up to me, like, oh, he's going to learn no's. I was like, yeah, but he should also be willing to say no as well. If a deal doesn't feel right, say no back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know out here, I'm pretty sure all over the country, shows are a drop-off for kids. I know a lot of kids, 12, 13, 14 and up, they're in that show by themselves. They have money. They have they're probably their parents or something have created a budget. They have significant funds. I've seen people with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Oh yeah,
walking around with their case, and they're making significant deals. And if you ask them what they have in their case, they can tell you why they bought it, what the last comp was, be able to look it up. So we're talking about savvy consumers with a pretty large budget. And the more that show is conducive to the parents, the child itself, and there's no shakedown, I would call it, by somebody trying to get something from a child, the more inclusive that is of a family setting. And the parents are going to trust, even if they're in the show or not, that the child's going to be well taken care of. That's a win.
The best thing you can do when a child is with a parent is verify with the parent that they are okay with the deal. And you're always going to get one of 3 answers. Yes, I'm good with it. No, can you explain it to me? Or I have no idea what the heck this kid is doing. I'm just here to support him, right? Mm-hmm. And usually I've noticed it's been usually number 3. And then when they say number 3, like, I have no idea. I trust you guys. I trust his decisions here or her decisions here. I'm like, nope. I'm going to verify with you one more time. Are you sure this is okay? Because I am an adult making a transaction with a kid, with a parent there. And even if the parent's not there, right? You should make sure it's a fair trade no matter what. But parents feel way more comfortable when you actually interact that way as well.
Very true. I know I would.
Yeah, I'm lucky that my daughter doesn't care that much about cards, because I'm sure she'd want to trade everything for something that's bluey.
I think the toughest part for kids going to schools, like, when kids bring in binders to the show or the shop, and parents are like, hey, do you mind like checking through this for me? I think they got a couple fakes. You're like, yeah, that's a fake. Whether it's Pokemon, sports, whatever it is, like, that's a reprint. That's not real. Like, just teach them the difference so that they don't get taken advantage of at school by accident, right? Because at school you have no control. They're just having fun with their friends.
True. That is true.
All right. What else we got? Other questions we got in here. Jordan asked a question, FD.
What's his question?
Do you think shows will slow down with live shopping becoming bigger and bigger? Is that something you thought?
I'm sorry. Keep reading it. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Is it something you've thought of or have any ideas of how to mess them together?
I don't think it's going to slow down at all because of live shopping. I think if anything, live shopping in regards to Fanatics Live and whatnot, and eBay Live, if they're still doing eBay Live, is just keeping your attention in the off times that you don't have a show. At the end of the day, we're starting to watch a trend in the world in general where people want stores again. People want to go to the store and buy a pair of shoes. They want to see the shirt. They want to see the cards in person. It's fun for the online shopping. You get the adrenaline and the dopamine rush to swipe over, but at the end of the day, I think that people still thrive off of the interactions with other people in person.
Scott, so one thing that me and FD always ask each other is like, why do people go to a show? And this conversation here explains why better than any words we can say.
Mhm.
But if you could give like a 1 minute, why should people come to the show this weekend? Go for it. Your 1 minute promo.
You know what? I'm not going to take the minute as a promo for myself. I'm going to take the minute as a promo for all shows. You should want to go to your local show to meet other collectors, to create new memories, to create new collections, to finish a collection you've always wanted to finish, to start a new collection, whatever it is, that memory and that tangible in-person event, whether it's $5 to get in or $15 to get in or 50 for Phonetics Fest, it's about the memories and it's about the experience more than it is anything else. And that's whether it's my show or anyone else's show out there. I think a lot of the market, especially on Instagram, where people are so easy to get caught up on whatever today's drama video is, I think a lot of people, including myself for a few years, didn't take advantage of the experiences and relationships that you can build through in-person events.
I love it.
Zerny says collectors love to talk when picking cards. I think that's going to be an aspect of that that's very important to people.
Yeah, that's what keeps the connections going, the relationships going.
I don't know. I'm excited for the weekend. I have no idea what I'm going to see. I have no idea what I'm looking for, which is typical when I go, because I'm just real life gets in the way of me trying to be prepared for this. I am, from a card perspective, I'm prepared from an excitement, overly prepared. Like I can't wait to be in there and just feel the experience. See a lot of deals that, you know, basically my friends now I know who I'm going to see every show. So, and I like that because it gives me a comfort level knowing that I'm going to go see Murph and Mike first when I walk through, and that's going to kind of ease any anxiety I may have going to other tables and meet new people. So I am super excited. How stressed are you in this last days?
Before I answer that, I'm going to say you just did the 1 minute promo for all shows. That's the exact response that I hope everyone feels getting ready for any show that they're going to. You know, sometimes it's okay to go without a plan. Have fun, enjoying what you see, and if you find a couple things you like, pick it up. I mean, think about it this way: you could come to our event from 10 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock at night for $15. That is $15 to have 8 hours of fun, and then you can go to trade night afterwards for free. Right? Like you could basically spend 12 hours just having fun looking at cards, never spend another dollar, but you enjoyed the experience. Right? Or you could blow your entire budget and you could have fun doing that too. Right? So you kind of did the 1 minute promo for all of us just on your excitement comment there. From the stress perspective, I got nothing. I'll tell you why. At this point, this is our 11th show. Each and every show, we have found a way to be prepared quicker, prepared better, learn from prior shows, learn from everything else. This is my first time running a shop going into show weekend, and I'm just excited for the next 2 days to have the shop open, connect with people, have fun at the shop like I always do. And Thursday night, close up shop, pack up the truck with everything that's going from the shop to the show, and get down to Mohegan on Friday, hang out, unload the truck into the meeting room that we rent now, and just get prepared for the weekend. I have probably the lowest stress ever going into every show now, just because we've gotten through and learned from those stressful weeks. The worst thing that pops up at this point, knock on wood, not weather. Shh, we don't mention the S word.
Right. The weather is stressing me out.
The weather shouldn't be stressing me out. It's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. It's mostly just travel for the guests, right? Our airplane's delayed. Did someone not drive in when they should have? Anything like that. It really just comes down to making sure that all of the guests arrive safely for the autograph side, And then from there, it's making sure that all of our vendors and all of you guys as our guests arrive safely starting Saturday morning. So really our stress is as low as possible. And the only issues we run into is, anything that gets brought to our attention for security, whether it's someone stealing or, anything like that, because we all know it's going to happen somewhere at every event out there. There's just too many people that statistically it's going to happen, right? So we just have to be ready for those conversations. And the best way that I'm ready with those conversations is, let's say you two were the duo head of security for the day, and we've never worked together before. I walk up to you guys, I introduce myself. I'm Scott. I run the event. I have full trust and respect in you and your security teams. If I bring something to your attention, I don't need A, B, or C for decisions. I need you guys to trust your gut on behalf of my event and do what you got to do to handle the situation. And if we're wrong, we'll figure it out afterwards. But for now, I trust you fully with your security teams on supporting our event. And then about 6 hours later, when I had to go up to the person I did that to, I was like, hey, here's a situation. I trust you. I'll see you in 10 minutes when you need me. And I hung close enough by to let him do his job. He took the problem to the side and then flagged me over when he was ready for me to step in as the show promoter and officially say the words of, you've been banned from our event, so they can kick him out. And that was that, right? I mean, you do everything as quick and slow under the radar as possible. And you show all the teams that you trust and support their decisions.
Hey, Scott, have you ever had other shows come out and visit your show to learn, pick up tips, conversate with you, things like that?
Yeah, I'd say we've had a few. There's two things that I allow at our events. Number one is, go ahead, come and learn. I mean, we learned this from the ground up ourselves as well. So if there's something that you can learn to take a little stress off your plate for your event, you're more than welcome to walk it, see it, check it out. And then I always allow other people to put their flyers out as well. I think we're one big hobby, and I think that your flyers being at an event doesn't impact my image, my brand, or my event for my vendor team or my customers. And honestly, the vendors and the attendees at the event are literally the customer you're going after on a marketing aspect. So, I don't think any event out there should, butt heads with any other event. I know some people always ask about hey, how do you feel about this from a competition perspective? It's not a competition. The more we can all grow the hobby together, I don't want to overlap the same weekends if we don't have to. I want to make sure that we're respecting distance and weekends and everything. But, we overlap with another event every November. And every November, they can't move their hotel weekend and I can't move our great weekend. So it overlaps. It's about 2 hours apart. And, people have the opportunity to kind of hit both shows for the weekend.
Hey, you have a great mindset, because I've been to shows where another show is handing out flyers and they're suddenly kicked out of a show.
But why? Right?
I've always thought,
how did you start your show? I have vendors at shows everywhere. Like I said, vendors should have flyers for their future shows to say, if you enjoyed this interaction, or can't wait to see you at the next show.
I totally agree with you, man. I appreciate you for being that way.
I appreciate you. And I know there's been some people try to compete shows around here, but I like that you don't see it as competitions. It's enough for everybody to go to what they like.
You know what I tell everybody, and I hope others will appreciate this and potentially use it as well. I stay in my own bubble. Mm-hmm. I don't pay attention to the other noise. I don't pay attention to the other distractions. My job is to give you guys the best event for the weekend that gives you the best experience with you, your friends, your family, whatever the reason was that you attended. The outside noise doesn't matter.
Totally agree. So this is a good question from Brendan. So, I'll rephrase it though. Now that you have a shop, are you stashing wax away for future, or you just?
I sure am. I have told everyone, specifically on the Pokemon side, but more so this year on the NFL side for the good rookie class, to always buy one to rip and buy one to stash. And I can tell you, I am absolutely stashing one here and there of everything that makes sense to put away. And kind of like the 2021 class on the NFL side, if we're wrong in 3 years, then, you know, we're wrong. But I think that this year is too good of a class to not just put some away. We keep seeing, like, you know, the 2017 product go through the roof, the 2018 product go through the roof, the 2019 product go through the roof, right? So, like, why can't this year's do that in 5 years too?
I have a hard time stashing anything. I just want to rip it.
Listen, as a closet ripper and as someone that's like walks by the pack dispenser, like, I could rip 2 more of those today. It's been a good day. I rip way too much product. And it is amazing. Actually, there's a rule at the shop. If it drops, I rip it. There's a couple of customers that have stuff drops in front of them. They go, Scott, I'm like, I know, I got to rip it now. And then another customer's like, no, if that's the rule, I'll buy it. So like we've had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I do believe in stashing a little bit. I don't believe in hoarding a product to where as a shop it's not getting in the collector's hands. I don't agree with some of the pricing that's happening with the current Prism. I don't agree with some of the pricing that's happening with the current Prismatic on the Pokemon side, because all it does is affect the collectors that just want to get that in their hands into their collections. Unfortunately, we have to take the punches as they roll and have to just, you know, deal with it as is. But so I'm not stashing, you know, cases. I'm just stashing like a box here and there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, speaking, you said earlier that you want people to share their hits. So, at trade night, we made a trade for some wax. I got that wax from my friend because he wanted to open up with his nephew. And I don't remember what the cards were, but they hit 2 reverse hollows that made them even again on trade.
Excellent.
So,
I love that.
And he's going to send them to grade form.
Okay.
But so when he texted me back with the cards, where I'll let you know. But I can't remember what he told me. I'm not big into Pokemon anymore, especially the new stuff. But I pick up some here and there.
Well, we've even, I mean, I'm happy to hear that, but we've even had like some downtowns pulled from our Donruss boxes. You know, we've had some good rookies pulled from Prism lately. Like we had I don't know if you saw me post it, but we had that Griffey mini patch auto booklet pulled. And everyone always asks me like, well, wouldn't you ever rather pulled it? Like, I mean, I traded for the box and then I sold the box, right? Like, yeah, of course I would love to know there's a Griffey rookie in there, rip it for myself. But it's more fun celebrating with other people. Like, that's the whole point of being a hobby shop, right? Is like, I want you guys to get the big pulls. I want to take a box off the shelf, rip it myself, and go, man, that was a dud. I just left you guys the good box, right? And then you guys can celebrate that you just got a Jaden Daniels silver Prism in shop. I don't even care if you don't even have to post about it. I just want to celebrate it with you. You can DM me and you know, keep it quiet. You don't need to post all over your social media. I mean, obviously that exposure helps, but I'm not asking you guys to share your hits for the exposure. I'm asking you guys to share because I genuinely care about celebrating the hits.
Yeah, and don't think I didn't see you get those WWE boxes in. I seen it. I'll be there for some. So you're not CT scanning your boxes so you can get all the good stuff, you know?
Oh, trust me, for what I rip, it's the total opposite of that. I'm the one that's getting all the duds for you guys, where I can go, man, that was a great hit. Only that was 1 box ago.
Machado had a question here about 2020 football. Were you stashing any of that?
I wasn't stashing at that time. I was having too much fun building repacks for other breakers and, you know, doing different things to where I wasn't stashing at all. I don't. Is Prism best to stash? Like, of course, like Prism is like the god of the Prism side or the Panini side, right? Because that's just kind of what the hobby has deemed as like the best rookie and everything. Can you stash the other products and still get a future return if it's a good class? Yeah, if it's a good class, the product really doesn't matter in the long run.
Jordan, next question here. What's your biggest pool?
Probably a mix of. So I finally pulled my first downtown the other day. That was kind of fun. Well, it wasn't like the biggest pull money wise, but it was definitely a fun. It was fun to finally say I could pull it downtown. I did so 2 different pulls, probably in like the 20. Actually, it was 2020 timeframe. I did pull a 1-of-1 Jason Dominguez out of the Bowman Mega Box. It's not the Bowman first, but it is his 2020 same year rose gold from the Mega Box. So I did pull that 1-of-1, and then a friend called me and said, "Hey, you want to join a break like the old days?" I'm like, "Man, we put way too much money into breaks." He's like, "Nah, just trust me. What if we get the Chargers? We get a nice Herbert autograph." I'm like, "That's never gonna happen." I hop on the live next card, Herbert Optic Contenders rookie ticket variation. I was like, "All right, well, that was a hell of a hit."
Oh yeah, very cool, very cool.
So now that you have a shop, do you ever think you get into just breaking yourself, like for the shop, and going live to break somewhere? No, too hard to feel, or
the best thing I would like to do in order to help collectors that are coming in to dump some cards that they don't want is, I'd rather create a market for my brand on Whatnot again, and I'd rather just go live with whatever inventory I have available and just start dollar auctions and just let it go for whatever it goes for, and kind of build other people's collections through giving back in value that way. And then that way, when you come in with a collection, you're like, "Hey, I don't want this anymore." The better response is, I would love to buy that because I know I'm going to go live on Tuesday on Whatnot and clear some of that stuff out that I don't necessarily need for the shop, but it helps you trade towards something you want for your collection. So I understand that on the business side, you're kind of like using buyers on Whatnot to obviously like push that needle, push that cash flow. But if people are buying it and they want it, then what you can take in better on trade when people are really trying to trade to something else for their collection.
Okay. And it's one little thing that I've seen cool is you've got a 3D printer, right? And you've made some cool stuff. What's the coolest thing you've 3D printed for the hobby, or to use in the hobby that you've printed?
Well, the display cases make the display cases look great. If you guys haven't seen them, they fit top loaders or PSA slabs. And it just makes our display cases in the shop just look so much more organized and nicer than cards just laying on the shelf. But the most fun one I've ever made, if you guys ever played the video game Halo, I bought the 3D file of the Master Chief assault rifle and had both of the voice actors sign it. So that was kind of cool.
It is very cool.
All right, I don't have any more questions. I'm very good and excited. FD, chat.
Yeah, Scott, it's been great meeting you, talking to you, learning a lot about your business mindset. What you and Nicole are doing is phenomenal. I'd love to come to the show one day. I know it's far away, but I would love to see that.
Oh, we would love that as well. We would welcome you with open arms.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Come to the November show so we can watch the high school basketball.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and likewise for having you guys take the time to have me on here. Like I'm grateful for that. I mean, from day one, I never expected that people would care about our event, care about, like Nicole just whispered what I have to say, anything like that. Because I got an idea to start an event because, I got a call about Kevin Nash, and it kind of fit with what we wanted to do anyway. And that was kind of like the push I needed to make it happen. Right. So I appreciate that you guys even wanted to spend this time to listen and kind of learn a little bit about, what we do for our fans in order to just kind of keep spreading it.
Oh, hey, we plan to have you on again in the future. So I think relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be show related. It could be anything else. I'll jump on anytime.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk sports, and this has happened this week. You had a show this week, which is great. And it's good things to ever know, but we definitely got to get to talk about sports, especially with the playoffs coming up and All-Star game. All right, what do you think about the All-Star weekend and the changes before we get out of here? This is our long goodbye.
What are the changes? 3-on-3?
This is 4 teams, 4 teams. It's confusing.
Yeah, I don't really know yet.
I didn't keep up on it, but I would say historically my biggest complaint about All-Star Weekend, and it is no offense to some of the good talent that has joined the different skills challenges and everything, it's supposed to be the All-Star team that was voted in. We should be having a dunk contest of the All-Stars that were voted to do the dunk contest. It shouldn't be, random team player B gets chucked into the All-Star contest. That's why that's why I don't think a lot of people take that weekend as seriously as it should be. And I get it. It's a fun weekend for them, right? But again, looking back, Vince Carter was in the dunk contest. There was big names that were also playing in the game in these contests. So I think we need to kind of get back to those roots. And again, there's amazing talent across the entire NBA, but All-Star Weekend is for that fan vote of the All-Stars.
Yeah, you got these young guys, big contracts, they're scared, man.
Yeah.
There's no Vince Carter, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dominique Wilkins. Those people don't exist.
I think the 3-point contest should end the weekend.
What's that?
I think the dunk contest, the 3-point contest should end Saturday night, not the dunk contest.
I agree.
It's a pain to watch.
Yeah.
And you got some good shooters this year in the 3-point contest. So, yeah, I agree.
That's going to be a fun one.
And we can't let you out there without getting your top 5 all-time NBA.
Oh, boy.
You can start off with one name. Go ahead.
What's that?
I said you can start off with one particular name, but go ahead.
Jordan?
No, Jordan is bona fide. I was talking about Steph Curry. But go ahead. Don't let me bias you.
I mean, I wouldn't say Curry was on my list, but I wouldn't be against an argument to add him to the list. I would be going a little more Jordan, Kobe, Shaq. And I mean, I'm going to go bias mostly for the era we grew up in. I mean, I know you should probably throw in the Magics or the Kareems, the Bill Russells or anything like that. But I'm going to go with the 5 that I would go with from growing up would be, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, Iverson, and honestly, I think you do throw Duncan in there.
That's
It's not a bad 5.
Respectable list.
It's a good list.
I think Duncan was quietly underrated because he ignored all the drama, so there wasn't a lot of news about him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if Ray Allen never made that 3, he'd be 6-0, just like Jordan.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that people underestimated that had something to do with Duncan's culture.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He was taught certain things, so he's not going to act like the typical athlete.
Right. Yeah, I think the Spurs always had that, stay out of the refs, stay out of the drama, just play the game.
Yep. And that core were all international, people from different places. So
that core is very underrated.
Even if you look at Wemby today, he's not about all that other stuff.
Correct.
He's going to let you know real soon in the press conference, I'm not about that.
Oh, if we're going to go press conferences for a minute, what about the Celtics coach? Some of those are hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what do you like the city jerseys? Yep. What do you like about them? They say the Celtics. What better responses? I know a lot of people can't stand him for just how generic, he just stares and he just answers so nonchalantly. But if you say too much, they dig into you and they cause this internal commotion for the team that he doesn't want or need.
Well, that's their job. Their job is to stir it up.
Right.
Get you to say something.
Yep.
And then when you don't, I love my Sean Lynch. I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Yes.
Then you have nothing. Then you want to leave that guy alone.
That actually, you know what? So you know how I don't know if you guys are in any of them, but sometimes like Instagram chats or Facebook chats. Like sometimes when I don't answer them for like weeks, I always use a Marshawn Lynch. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That way everyone knows I'm still here, but I'm not paying attention for a little bit. But I like you guys. But I'm still here.
For sure. And
I had to watch that movie Marshawn was in this weekend.
What's that?
Said I had to watch that movie Marshawn is in with Love Hurts.
That has turned into him now being in movies and doing TV shows. And I mean, anybody can see the guy's personality, just didn't want to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other question for you. Who's your GOAT quarterback of all time?
I mean, the typical answer up here is going to be Brady.
That's the correct answer, right?
Yeah.
Big Jon, is that the correct answer?
That is the correct answer.
Especially after what we just saw.
There are two jerseys on my wall at the shop. There's Brady and Jordan.
Okay.
I would rather it be Jordan Bulls and Jordan Wizards, because I do like the Wizards jersey with a nice the white jersey, blue letters, nice silver across it. Yeah,
real nice.
But you can't deny the Brady jersey up there.
It'd be interesting if Mahomes. So I was saying this to some people. I've said this before, but I've said it again since it's lost. It'd be interesting if Mahomes is never in another Super Bowl.
That would be very interesting. I also think the biggest argument was brought up earlier today about, and maybe it's just being a biased Patriots fan and just listening to what was said, but, did Brady win them all? No, but he did at least put up a fight most of the time.
Competitive. Yeah,
it almost seems like Mahomes got into his own head and was done after that.
Those feet got jumpy in that second quarter. He was seeing ghosts.
Well, you had four guys on his butt.
Yeah.
You don't rush, you don't blitz, and you're on a guy like that? It's just, and they're the youngest defensive line ever won a Super Bowl. And they're on him like this. I mean, Sweat was all over the place. If Hurts doesn't do a few more things, Sweat's probably the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
So them guys were common. I wouldn't want to be around that. I mean, I wouldn't want those guys bearing down on me. So he tried to do the best he can by running, and then that made him make mistakes. I saw a stat the other day that Marcellus Wiley was talking about. When Mahomes goes to the playoffs, his interceptions double.
Did not realize that.
Yeah.
You know what else it proves, though? It proves that, once again, defense does win championships.
Yes. We like to do all this rah-rah talk. But in those trenches, man, between that O-line and that D-line is where the game is won. Yep. We like to talk about these guys that are out here because they, they talk a good game and they're in front of the camera. But Philly has some guys that nobody's probably even done an interview, really. And they're destroying people.
Yeah.
No, that tush-push touchdown wore down that Chiefs defensive line because Chris Jones was hurt after that.
Yeah. And I'm going to say hurt. Chris Jones is another guy who does a lot of talking. When adversity meets you squarely, then you see guys start folding up. They start leaving the field for various reasons. And I don't know if he's hurt. Maybe he is, but he's not what people talk about as far as a defensive tackle.
Right.
About 5-7 years from now, nobody's talking about Chris Jones.
Right.
And that's who he is. He didn't come in there. He came in this year late. He hasn't been in shape all year. So, yeah, you're going to be hurt in the Super Bowl when somebody's putting that pressure on you.
Correct. Ego hurt.
Yeah. And a lot of modern day athletes, when they get, they meet some adversity, then all kind of stuff comes out. You have people saying they're tired. You have a bunch of stuff going down. It's not like it used to be where you try to fight through. When Brady was down 28-3, he could have just wrapped that thing up. He wasn't going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that make people great when you watch them. Last week, Big Jon and I and the guest talked about greatness. There's a big leap between being a good player than being great. Great is legendary, someone that you'll talk about for generations. And those are the people that you see when you're watching them. They meet adversity and they overcome it.
Yep.
And that's why you put them on your wall, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got people on your wall that have done that. You know, you're not putting Trey Young on your wall, man. You're not putting the Melo
Here we go.
wall, man. Nobody's doing that. We know
We came to the conclusion that FD's bar for greatness is really the bar for entering Hall of Fame.
No. You can still go to the Hall of Fame. I'm like Dion. You can go to the Hall of Fame, but what's that upper room of the Hall of Fame?
That's where your bar of greatness is. Just getting the Hall of Fame ain't greatness for you. You got to be in the ring to be great.
No, not at all. No, there's a lot of players today that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. They're not great. They won't sniff it. That's my rant for today, Scott.
I mean, I agree with you though. Like they have to put someone in each year. They don't want to not put someone in. You know. Yeah. Like a lot of people will continue to argue that Eli should be in. Maybe he should.
I don't think so. I don't think Eli is the first ballot Hall of Famer.
No, but he's not great enough to be in. But just statistically, he'll be in at some.
Oh, he'll be in. Oh yeah, he's going in.
He'll be in because he beat Brady twice.
Correct.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he'll be in. He threw to David Tyree, who never catches anything, caught a ball. Yeah, he'll be in there. But he's definitely, you make a decision on who's going to be first ballot and who's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm still trying to figure out who didn't vote for Ichiro. So there's a lot of questions out there. There was a person that did not vote for Ichiro to go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, which was just, people have been complaining about the MLB writers for years at this point. At some point, they've got to change that process.
Yeah, they got to change that, man. I mean, that's just a level of biasness that can't be explained.
Correct.
Scott, I appreciate you, bro. I can talk all day. Next time you're on, we'll break down some sports.
The last thing I want to say about the sports, though, is I still love the troll job that the Patriots did with the 283 diamonds in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the troll job.
But
what proves that.
You got to be petty if you're going to be great now. Michael Jordan, Brady, they don't forget.
Yeah.
They don't forget anything. And I love them for it.
I still don't know how you lost the second one to Eli, though. I mean, you should have had a little more anger in there to beat him the second time.
Well, that
was undefeated season, right?
Yeah. That Giant team had a defense.
Mm-hmm. Right. Defense wins.
That defensive line was – you had some future Hall of Famers on that line, so it wasn't an easy thing to do. But I remember that game. It's like the last Super Bowl party I went to. I was in Manhattan Beach, California. I knew for certain the Patriots were winning that game. And, by the third quarter, it's like, what's going on
here?
Yep. If Randy Moss could have got a ring that day, that would have been wonderful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can look at years of guys that you kind of wish got a ring, right? Whether you look at the NBA and the Barkley, or you look at, Randy Moss, or just a couple other guys. Like Wes Welker was clearly the kryptonite of every Super Bowl, because every single one he went to, he lost no matter what the team was. Yep. So, I'm not saying he deserved his ring, but he was definitely on the teams that didn't win them. But yeah, I mean, if that was a year to finish with Randy, that'd been great.
Now we know KD just scored 30,000 points. He needed 26 tonight to get there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations
to KD. Very cool, man.
All right. So, Scott, I will see you Saturday. Chad, it was great. You should be anywhere. Glad you were here with us.
Oh, yeah.
FD. Good job.
It's always beautiful. Thank everybody for being here, Scott. Thank you for being here. We'd like to thank Nicole as well. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys just as much.
All right, brother. Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
All right.